Thanks for tuning in to the Animal Control Report podcast, where we help debunk the dog catcher stereotype. A lot of times people think it's the dog catcher when they hear about animal control officers, but here on the Animal Control Report, we change that by taking you inside the day-to-day operations of animal control officers. Not only will you hear stories of animal control officers, but you'll hear from industry experts as well. We are also part of the Keep It Humane podcast network. We have some amazing partners there, so check them out at keepithumane.com/podcast network. You can listen to all the animal control and animal welfare related podcasts there. And let's continue to help people help animals.
Welcome to the Animal Control Report with your hosts.
Wow. Ashlee Bishop, OG.
And Texas Bishop.
I'm Daniel Ettinger, and we're sponsored by livetrap.com. It's livetrap.com. Go buy stuff. 15% off or 10% off with Keep It Humane. Also, we have websites. What if I did the podcast every day or every episode like that?
We wouldn't be a podcast anymore.
I think we might fire you.
Thanks for our listeners. We really appreciate y'all. Check out our website, keepithumane.com. Check us out on those socials, Keep It Humane or the Animal Control Report. You can buy this shirt too now. This shirt's available, the Animal Control Report podcast, on eBay, or you can go and get it through keepithumane.com. You just have to click the eBay link because it's print on demand, and my website is not fancy enough to make it look like they actually live on my website. So there you go. How's everybody else?
Tired. Coming back from training, Expo. So.
And a top secret event that you can't talk about yet.
Yet.
Top secret. Stay tuned. We'll see if she gets top secret clearance to talk about her top secret event. I'm not buying it, but we'll find out.
They'll come for me. They'll send Carol Baskin after me.
We've actually had Carol on the show.
I know.
She's a friend of the show. I don't know if these top secret people are actually friends of the show. So I'm actually going to give up my show host duties if they come through. I'm going to resign from the show. I'm making that announcement live on air right now.
They're going to come through. So I don't know.
Nah, ain't happening. Anyway, so you were in Expo all week. That's the Humane Society of the United States, very large scale
international
training.
Yeah. Like I got to meet people from Costa Rica and Brazil and South America and like all freaking over. Germany.
It's outside of that, and I think Best Friends, they do a conference that's extremely large. And I don't know which one's bigger at this point. I don't know if Best Friends has exceeded, because I know HSUS is like 2,500 people.
Based on somebody who was at both, I think she said that she thought Expo was still larger.
Okay.
But I mean, it was huge. And honestly, because it is HSUS, right? It's the Humane Societies of the United States. So there was a lot of stuff that was there that was more geared towards the shelter side, but they actually have different course lines you can go through. So there's law enforcement, there's sheltering, there's vet med, you can follow different tracks of it. It feels like it's a lot more geared towards shelters and rescues, but let me tell you, if anybody ever has any kind of training that they can go to, even if you look at it and you're like, man, I've been doing this for a long time. I already am super familiar with all of this. Networking, meeting people, talking to the people that are doing this on a day-to-day basis and being able to be like, oh, you do this one little thing different, or even better yet, getting those cards for people and all of a sudden going, I need some help in this other jurisdiction. I know about this, going on in a different area. And now you have somebody that you can call that there. You've talked to them in person. The networking is more valuable probably than some of those classes.
Did anyone recognize your voice? Like, are you that person from the Animal Control Report?
No, not my voice. But there was definitely plenty of people that when I started talking about the podcast, they're like, "What? That's who you are?" Yeah. So I did get that
Did
a
you
little.
sign any autographs?
I did not sign any autographs.
Do you
We're
sign
not that
autographs,
famous.
Dan?
Do
Yeah, do
I?
you ever
No,
get
absolutely.
autographs?
No, absolutely not.
Does your tattooed cats count as an autograph?
You know, that's a good question. So the cat challenge I mean, there's 8 people, including myself, and I know there's a 9th on the way. So yeah, I saw somebody got a tattoo down there of a turtle and a rabbit, but not the cat. So
I may have also gotten a dragon with a D20, but
what's D20?
like a die, like you roll for Dungeons and Dragons,
I see.
12-sided die.
Well, you're fired for not getting the cat tattoo.
Okay. Hi.
Damn.
He looks like he wouldn't care. Maybe I should just peace out.
I mean, I every day I think about ending this podcast anyway. That's what happens when you're burned out in this profession. But we've already talked about burnout for a long time, so I think we'll skip that because people are like, the more burnout we hear, the more burned out we're going to be. So let's talk about accolades and fun things that can happen in the profession. But before we jump into that, I do want to get more info on your thoughts. Like, with all due respect to, and you know, I'm an instructor. I teach, and I'm grateful for all the opportunities that I've been granted to teach throughout this country, and I love it. I mean, it's extremely fun. But I often think, would an animal welfare retreat where it's not focused on the academic side maybe even be more beneficial? I guess the question would be, would your agency sponsor a retreat if there wasn't some sort of continuing education application to it, right? So then you'd have to do it on your own accord, and how many people would actually pay to just go hang out with other animal welfare professionals?
I think it would that 1000% depend on the cost of it because unfortunately, as most of us know, um, you don't get into this profession to make money.
Ain't
And
that the
so
truth?
Yeah, pause though, pause. Because a lot of these executives that work for nonprofits in animal welfare make a shit ton of money. They make probably over 175, 200 plus, right? So
right, but they're not the ones that should be getting the accolades.
yeah, but they should
So
also be, in my opinion, what is the point of you getting $200,000 a year and you keep having the same issues in your kennels because you're paying $16 an hour for that person? Why not maybe make $30,000 less and distribute that to make it a little bit more enticing to hire people that are going to do the job better?
I mean, that's a systemic problem across the country. That is not just an animal welfare problem. Let's be real.
I know, but my point is some people do it because of the money. That's all.
Yeah,
Mm,
but the people
I'm
that
better than
but the people that you're talking about getting these accolades and having to provide, their own way of getting there, which means also being able to take the vacation time away from their job because you know that the employer is not going to be paying for them to go, whether it be, training credits or training time or whatever. Like they're going to have to take the vacation time. So it's unfortunately not feasible. And maybe there's some organizations and employers out there that would be willing to do it, but not enough. I know damn well mine wouldn't. I had to take my own personal time to go to HSUS. I had to pay for myself to go to HSUS, which was training time. And let me tell you, even though I need training credits every 2 years, my employer's not going to get access to those training credits because I had to pay for it because they're supposed to be paying for my training credits. But for me to be able to go to it, I had to pay
Hmm.
myself.
I just
which is
wonder. Yeah, go ahead,
weird.
Bishop. Texas.
Yeah, it's just weird because you're just you're the only singular person, it's just, it blows my mind. It blows my mind. And and I look at, my journey through this and where I've come from and where I'm at now, especially after this weekend, you know, I don't understand how municipalities just don't get it after so long. Like I just don't understand. I don't understand. I mean, even ourselves were cut short because our departments merged when they first decided to take over, and we lost a huge chunk of the budget because another department that we were under decided to keep that. So we were still short all of that for our law enforcement side of the department. But it blows my mind. It blows my mind still to this day.
My department's looking at getting rid of the animal control program altogether, potentially.
Yeah. I
Which,
saw the town hall meeting or whatever that was.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, that look, our profession in general, though, it's so wild to me that we definitely do. I guess the question is, do we overvalue our worth? Do we think we should be treated better than we are? And maybe we need to ask somebody that's not specifically in the profession, because at the end of the day, it is the same thing over and over again from people within our profession, that we don't feel valued by, whether it's our organization, we don't feel valued by anyone else in the org chart that's above us, whether you're in public health, whether you're part of the Humane Society, whether you're just a municipal asset to the community. And it feels like, is that, I don't know, like you couldn't, a world couldn't, no, that's not true. But imagine not having a police force, okay? But then try to imagine not having animal control. Like, they would figure it out.
yeah. And that's what my community is currently trying to do. But let me tell you, I've been on light duty since November. I have not been allowed to participate in anything related to my job, even the things that I could do at my desk. I'm not allowed to participate, not allowed to help the officers. And I am watching left and right them screw up things or waste resources.
Mm.
When I have 5 officers and 2 lieutenants go to pick up one dog that bit somebody,
Mm.
when I know damn well that if I was working, it would have been me, and if I was lucky, one officer, if they were available. So they're wasting their resources, and they're gonna eventually see that, maybe, and then they're gonna have to restart the entire program, maybe. To answer your question to whether or not we are overvaluing ourselves, absolutely not. The amount of officers that are constantly saying, I don't want to do your job, I don't know enough about your job, maybe we don't necessarily get the direct recognition from our superiors, which is who we're looking for it from, right?
Yeah.
You want mommy and daddy to say that they're proud of you. You don't care what your siblings have to say. You want mom and dad to say that they're proud of you. And that doesn't come because they don't actually see the benefit of it. They see it as, okay, we got to fork out more money to pay for XYZ. They don't look at how much time is being spent, how much time other officers are not having to spend where they can, I say this with the utmost sincerity. Police officers have more important things to do. There are 2 completely different worlds. There is the animal world, and there is the people world. And you cannot expect one person to be able to know every intricacy of both worlds. And that's why we have to have dedicated people to each. And so we need to be able to find people that value us as much as we value us. And it's a matter of the community as a whole, as the United States, is not recognizing yet that animals are important. We know that they're important. There are things changing to make everybody else more aware of that, but we are 30 years behind still.
Texas Bishop, do you think we overvalue ourselves?
I don't. I really don't. I think all of us, whether we're the only animal control officer for our jurisdiction, or we're the animal control officer, code enforcement, solid waste management person, I really don't. I think that when, for me, if we decide to take one thing away from what we do on a daily basis, for instance, let's just say we decided to take away our programming for spay and neuter, that's going to be felt in our community. And then people will start to realize the importance of what we're doing as a department for that community. I think that if anything, you know, and me personally, for OG Bishop's community, once you remove that piece, the community is really going to understand what's missing. And I see it too around all the other counties around me that don't have animal control. You know, they call us and say, well, a dog bit my child, you know, what are we supposed to do? I mean, regardless of the jurisdiction of whether or not you have animal control, you should be reporting that in some capacity, you know, and it doesn't happen, you know. Well, why can't I, you know, do the report in your jurisdiction? Well, that's, you know, stepping on people's toes. But no, I don't think that we overvalue what we do on a daily basis. And I think for me, you know, after this weekend as well, I see the importance of my mission in this industry of ensuring that people understand what we bring to the table, both in public health and in the lives of the animals within our community.
I think if anything, Dan, I think we undervalue ourselves. I think we listen to the public too much. One of the things my husband has, for the last couple of years, um, I am notoriously bad for saying, you know, that I'm just the humane officer. I am not law enforcement. And he's like, no, you absolutely are law enforcement. And he has been drilling that into my head. I am a first responder. Any one of us that goes into these houses is a first responder. We should be treated like first responders, and we need to get everybody else to see that. But just like anything else, any other kind of um, mental health and self-worth, you have to believe it yourself before you're going to get others to believe it. And so we, as a collective community of animal control officers, need to believe and understand our worth. We need to start stepping up and, you know, praising one another for what we are doing and recognizing that we are making a difference before we're going to be able to change anything.
So that leads me to this question, though. And it's something you experienced this last weekend. And I know you can't go into much detail, but we talked a little bit about it offline, and we have before. Why is there, instead of a collective, there are silos in this industry? And what I mean by that is, as I continue to research our history to understand like the foundation of animal welfare in this country, and I often talk about my grandfather, Henry Berg, who's not really my grandfather. I often talk about Caroline Earl White. I often talk about George Thorndike Angel. Like, they seem to work together. And it wasn't until you had, like, the disparity didn't come until like I want to say it was like the 1940s on record. Now there's obviously going to be more if you dig into it, but there was an opportunity for an organization on Long Island to take on animal control work, and they said no. They were like, we are a no-kill institution. We are not going to accept that contract. We are not going to do that work because we don't believe in killing animals, right? So you go into this, like, we drill down into where we are today, and certain people may not agree with certain ideologies of organizations. Certain people may not agree with somebody just having a differing opinion. And then instead of being able to have more detailed conversations and understand the why, it's easier to be like, oil and water. I just don't want to mix with that individual. That's how it seems to me. And I know here on the podcast, like, I've created a reputation for myself, and I own that. I understand that my behaviors, my comments to people have absolutely created an environment where there are people that wouldn't want to come on this program or wouldn't want us to sponsor an event, etc. But why does it have to be that way? Like, why can't we have a differing of opinions and still work towards that common goal, which is to help people help animals?
You want my honest opinion on recording?
Yeah, that's why we do this show, bro.
Okay. I think a lot of it has to come to how it's being presented.
Okay.
How, absolutely everybody has to have their own opinion, because if they don't, then like the world is going to be fucking boring as hell and nothing is ever going to change. And so we have to have those different opinions, but it's a give and take, and everybody has to be able to accept both sides, listen to both sides, and then pick and choose how you're going to respond to that. And it is 100% based on like, I'm not directing this just at you, Dan. But I think that
Yeah, you can. I'm happy if you do, and I actually want you not to hold back, because I feel like I've known you for long enough to know that you're holding back. So don't hold back. Keep it 100, as those kids say.
it needs to be presented in a way that is respectful, and not just respectful in your opinion, but respectful in everybody's opinion and in how they perceive you. Having there's a difference between attacking and berating and having a conversation.
So can you give me an example where I've attacked or berated somebody?
You really want to do this on recording?
Absolutely. That's why we do the show.
Taka's keynote.
Who did I attack?
Best friends.
No.
Your perception of how it went versus everybody else's perception of how it went.
Well, you can't say everyone, but a collective, you can say.
Yeah. Fine. A collective. And
I got feedback that people thought that was much needed.
There was plenty of feedback, though, that it was a little heavy-handed. And that it was, again, there's a difference between the open-ended conversation and berating.
I mean, point well taken. I definitely felt like there was an opportunity to listen to feedback from that. And that's important for me, is to be able to at least get that feedback provided so I can make changes, because it's not in the, so I love this phrase. Sometimes the impact doesn't match your intent, right? Mm-hmm. So the impact that I had going into that was to raise awareness on how language can truly be divisive in our profession. And I mean, one of the persons that was there, they don't even work for Best Friends anymore. And I can't say why. I don't know the history or the reasoning behind that. I will say that it's interesting to see the pendulum shift in some aspects when you start pushing, though. Like, we know they're not going to make their goal of no kill United States 2025. They need to just drop that language and keep working to help people help animals, and then no one will have an issue with it. It's the same thing reversed in some aspects, where it's, my message comes across a certain way that is repulsive to others, and their message comes across a certain way that's repulsive to others. I'd love to find a middle ground. I don't know if we'll ever do that, because as we become adults and just more entrenched with our ways, we choose to avoid people that don't make us feel well than having those conversations to try to work with those people, because we're already in our, stuck in our ways.
Kind of going back to how we started this, though, still being able to recognize the awesome work that some of us are doing. I think we should give OG Bishop a minute to talk about her weekend.
We're not done yet.
Okay.
We can't just completely deflect, right? Because we can't have these conversations and then just say like, all right, cool. Like the reality is such, like I'll either create an environment for myself that I will no longer be in this profession because I've burned all those bridges, or I can continue to advocate for us as a underappreciated a division of public safety and public health that should get, like, why don't we have any sort of regulatory? There's no regulatory oversight to our profession. Sure, there's individual organizations that may provide insight, but there's nothing federally that says you have to have animal control. There's no post academy. There's nothing to truly regulate us. And that's where we need to go to get the, I think that's one of the places we need to go to get the respect that we need in the overall community, not just the people that we serve, but the politicians that have to vote on having animal control as part of their city or county or whatever it may be. And so we have to figure out a way to get to that level. And we can only do that as a collective voice. Some of us are going to be louder than others, but if we don't continue to have those conversations and just continue to operate on, I mean, we've talked about this on the show ad nauseum, is like, there's so many different names to define our profession. We're all housed under different
Subsidies of the community.
Yes. Like there's just, right. We all have different types of uniform, different equipment, different types of training that's required, different ways of handling cases, etc. So until we can get that more to a standard operating procedure across the country, we're always going to be a ragtag bunch of people that are uneducated, unempathetic, right? All those things, how the community sees us, because let's be honest, if you're paying animal control $14.12 an hour, who the fuck you think you're going to hire, right? You're not going to hire somebody that is truly wanting to do this job and is going to put their soul into it, right? You're going to hire somebody that's like, I need a job, pays $15 an hour, but I get county benefits and someday I'll have a retirement. You're going to get somebody that's lazy AF that's going to go in there and be the dog catcher. And until we can start recognizing that part, I guess I won't be quiet until then. So I may burn.
I don't think nobody is asking you to be quiet. I think it is a matter of having a conversation and being open to that conversation and not just beating a dead horse.
No pun intended.
Exactly.
Well, I'm always here. The invite's open. People know how to reach me. I'm more than happy to have those conversations. So thank you. I really appreciate you sharing that. I think it's important that we have these conversations as a whole. As uncomfortable as they may seem, it's not uncomfortable for me because I get it. I know this. It's not like you're hitting me upside the head and I'm like, oh my God, what a surprise. I've been doing it for years, man. I know it. So I think for me to continue to try to work on that, and which I do. People may or may not believe that. It's a battle, but I'm trying every single day to make improvements, because at the end of the day, I support everybody that truly wants to advance themselves and advance this profession, or just be a good, significant piece of the profession, a good link in the chain, if you will.
I think, I wasn't at TACA, so I don't know Anything that happened over there. But I think, what I tell my staff all the time is, there's a time and a place, and the emotional intelligence that we perceive every day, whether it's internal customers, our colleagues, or outwards, we just have to make sure that our conversation is trying to be open and really seeing yourself in the mirror and trying to see how you are being perceived and how to take that information and kind of turn the rhetoric around a little bit, if that makes sense. For our organization in itself, where I feel a lot of organizations that I've been part of don't do, is the honesty, man. And honesty in a way that doesn't slap somebody in the face, obviously, for how we do our things. And I think it has given us a lot of respect in our community. When people bring in an animal, or they have some kind of interaction with one of my officers in the field, we're very honest, and I think it's about learning who your audience is and how to really speak to them without not necessarily slapping in the face at times. Obviously, sometimes it's necessary, but it's just learning how to do that, which is hard. It's really hard.
Well,
It's
and
really hard.
in speaking to that, like, depending on, you have to learn how to approach the people who you're trying to get to listen. Not everybody is going to, some people actually might listen better if you slap them in the face, but then there's others that you just have to approach differently, because they're going to shut down and not pay attention if you do that.
Well, it'll say a lot if I do get an invite back to that conference, because I think that will tell me, because I actually recently had that happen. I had a conversation offline at another conference with somebody with best friends who that conversation did not go well, and I wasn't invited back to that conference because of that, right? I can assure you it's because of that, because it wasn't about the classes. The classes weren't even the same class that I did in Texas. It was a few different classes that I know were received well, just based on the feedback that I got, right? And there was nothing public in in that classroom that would have made it a situation. It was one person that is, influential in that organization that I rubbed the wrong way, because I'm not going to back down on feeling like that language is divisive. Like, it's just not going to happen until that language is changed. And that it was, and there were people that witnessed the conversation. I mean, I tend to be, I teach verbal de-escalation. So for me, I usually take a calm, cool, relaxed demeanor when I talk to people. And in that scenario, same approach, but that other person was just fiery, like angry, wanted to argue. And I wasn't having any of it. I was just basically like, no, like, I just don't think that language is appropriate for what we're trying to do. I'll welcome best friends to my organization right now if they can help us with the overcapacity that we do have, right? Like, I have no issues with their embedded programs when it comes to finding ways to help people help animals. It's just, I'm very staunch on that language is not that's not a common goal that anybody can agree to, because it causes more issues than it helps. And that's where I'm at. So I'm with you 100%, Bishop. Like, I've personally felt my own wrath because of my own behavior in these moments, right? Like, I'll never be asked, probably back by that organization because of that conversation, which I have to own it. And I have to remember too, like, Best Friend sponsors a lot of these events, right? So if I'm bashing a sponsor, right, why would that event want me there when that sponsor is helping to pay for it? So I completely, I respect it. And I actually really appreciate you being able to talk about it on this forum. And for the listeners, we didn't go into this show like, let's have this conversation. I think it's been stuff that has been accumulating for a long time. So yeah, I really appreciate that. I do.
It's always good to be able to recognize it too, Dan. You know what I mean? We can always learn. Knowledge is infinite all the time. And it's such an important phrase to think by every single day.
Well, it's
'Cause-
good timing. So if you haven't been to keepithumane.com, there's a blog section, and I wrote a blog a couple weeks ago that's titled, "Is it compassion fatigue or am I just a jerk?" And I think that like is the groundwork for me to continue to explore, because I feel that both can be true, and not making excuses for my behavior, but I think compassion fatigue can heighten my jerkness, and having that that approach to the world that I've had, I tend to rub some people the wrong way. Not everybody, but I'm trying to work on it. I'd rather have a personality that's like, who does everybody love that's like famous? Everybody like, that person's great. The Rock, you just raised your eyebrow, Bishop, Texas Bishop.
Betty
She
White.
raised it like The Rock. She was like the people's eyebrow. But like, who does, like, people just, there's some people that have personalities that people just love to deal with. And I know I'm not one of those, but just working through some of that stuff, I can be more, I think, open and find different approaches for sure.
Sorry.
You mean you have a dog barking on a animal podcast? How dare you?
That's how I know he's feeling better.
Oh, good.
Well, Dan, I feel you, and I'm sure the audience is going to be able to feel you. A lot of us are well, all three of us have been doing this for a long time, and I think, me personally, a couple weeks ago, I was right where you're at right now. And, life hit me in the face, so I was able to kind of take a break, so I'm ready to get everything back into it 100%. But, it's hard. It is hard, man. It's so hard. And trying to juggle, everything that you're trying to do for the profession, and then also your personal life and your personal pets and everything like that. And it's just trying to find that balance, which I feel for probably all three of us is difficult when we're so passionate about what we do on a daily basis.
And whether we've said this ad nauseum or not, and I'm gonna say it again, your mental health is far more important than being out on the road and dealing with the animals. Because if you can't be in a good mental place, you're not going to be doing your job appropriately, whether that be actually going out on the calls or giving the profession a bad um, uh, name because you're basically going out and being the dog catcher. And so making sure that you are taking care of yourself mentally and physically. And if you need to reach out to somebody and you need to talk to somebody, our numbers are out in the show notes. There's also the Humane Educators of Texas have also recently started Humane Help, which is a peer support group specifically for animal control officers. You can go to humanehelp.com, I think, I'm pretty sure, and reach out to somebody there to talk to that is, a trained person that is familiar with what everybody does. So whether you just need to talk to somebody for a day or you need to get a professional that you can talk to on a regular basis, you need to take care of yourself.
Absolutely. Well, I don't want to, I want to end this on some happy notes. And I think, again, I appreciate that. And I know I have areas to work on. And so again, thank you for being so candid about it. And I, to the rest of our listeners or to the rest of the people that may come across this episode, if you ever want to talk, or, I am here. Like I don't want it to feel like I'm unapproachable and your opinions don't matter, because they do. But I think I give off that vibe. And that's what I'm trying to really change. Is I do want to hear from people. I do want that positive, that positive interaction with that constructive feedback, because that's going to help me. And then I, in turn, can help more people help animals, because that's the goal.
He's really not a Chihuahua, guys. He's more of a boxer.
Just too much energy.
Yeah.
The Texas A&M School of Veterinary Medicine and
Oh, no.
Biomedical Sciences,
Oh, no.
BMBS, Outstanding Alumni and Rising Star Awards are the highest honor the college bestows on its former students. The school honors graduates whose contributions to veterinary medicine, human medicine, and One Health are a credit to the educational standing of the school, both nationally and internationally. Internationally, that's a word. Internationally. Outstanding alumni and rising stars recipients exemplify the ideals, character strengths, and principles of conduct that make those professions some of the highest callings. We applaud them for the principles by which they have lived and practiced their profession. So,
I hate it already.
we would like to announce the 2024 Rising Star Award recipient, Ashlee K. Rodriguez Bishop, also known as Texas Bishop. Let's go.
Boo.
Let's go. Let's talk about it. Wow, what a cool freaking honor. When we were talking earlier that our profession is not really seen in a positive light, it looks like somebody just got recognized for all the hard work that they do.
Oh man, I will tell you, Friday was so uncomfortable. I was just sitting there quiet. My husband was just feeding drinks to me because I just like and again, it all goes back to us and our self-thoughts. I don't deserve to be here. I just, I love doing my job. This is what I love to do. Why am I getting recognized when it's not just me, it's everybody? But I have to say it was a cool experience. And I am proud that my organization sees all the hard work that we're doing as a department. My supervisor, as well as the deputy city manager, as well as our public works director, all came, which I was very happy to see. And it was just it was heartwarming. There's going to be a video coming out and
Nice.
posted for it. They came to my house and we did a little, spotlight on, who I am and why
That'll
I'm
be on
doing
the
what I'm
Animal
doing.
Control Report Facebook
Oh no,
page.
Yes,
I don't
it will.
I don't know when it's gonna get posted. But I started crying again. And the first clip I will say is quite hilarious. I was sitting in my office when I found out that I was gonna receive this award, and the dean of the vet school popped up on my caller ID, and I was like,
What did I do?
what did we do to piss off the dean of the vet school, and why is he calling me personally? So you'll see me at the first 30 seconds of the video because they had already got me crying, and I'm so humbled, y'all, and again, I'm still in the mindset I don't deserve this. I'm here because of everything and everybody in my past, my team currently, my supervisors, that all the way down to the band directors that I had in high school, making me who I am. But most
No. I'm going to stop you right there. They did not make you who you are. You took what they gave you and you made you who you are, and you do deserve it.
I'll second that. Or as they say, since we're recording on Sunday, amen.
But I will say I was the only non-DVM to receive this award, and at this year specifically. And it was just cool. It was cool for everybody to kind of see what we're doing, and how I took my degree and where I plan to go with it and where I plan to stay. And it was just cool to see. And everybody, there's a lot of good laughing moments in my video. And of course all my kids and everything like that were in the video as well, all my doggos. And it was good to have that recognition in the profession because I was completely different from everybody else. Completely
I just
different.
want to take the moment to say, like, you exude that, and that's one of the reasons when you came on as a guest, I was like, not just because your name was also Ashlee Bishop, but I was like, you need to be part of this show because you bring that level of professionalism, but mixed with that humility. And is it humility? I don't want to say the wrong word.
Yeah.
Yes.
I always screw that up because I think it's something to do with humor, but that's just my stupid brain.
You're not stupid, Dan.
But my point is, like,
bad mouthing yourselves, you too.
Sorry.
you bring that collective, calm, professional, knowledgeable approach to this program, and I'm sure you bring that to your everyday work, which is recognized. So we think that that's super deserving. We know it's super deserving. Shit, I might have flown down there if I would have known. So I could have been in the back corner like, yeah.
I was so uncomfortable, y'all. And again, it's just, it's awesome. The professor who nominated me is, I mean, she is just a badass lady. She has 5 kids and she does a lot of research down south from where I'm from, doing a lot of Chagas disease and all the fun stuff. And, I'm glad to have met her, and it was a cool experience. Very humbling. And I'm glad that the university recognized that somebody can take this, education and go off kind of a beaten path, into something that somebody's passionate about, that kind of collectively goes into their mission of One Health and veterinary medicine. So it was neat. It was neat.
Well, just so you know, like, these are the moments that catapult our profession forward. So seriously, continue to do the work that you do, and maybe 30 years down the road there's a book written about you, right? Like, that's not a far-fetched thing. So yeah,
Yeah.
congratulations on that.
Congratulations for everything. Honestly, I just congratulations for everybody. Again, yes, it was me, but at the same time, I have people to look up to, like you guys and everybody before me. And, it's just, I don't know. I don't know if y'all can tell how red my face is right now.
We can't, I want to pitch this idea to a conference, to any conference that's listening. But I want there to be a session where it's a comedy roast. Like, I just think that would be so fun to, like, get somebody that's like if you think about it, for example, Bishop and I have gone to the Texas Animal Control Association conference for a few years, and I've been going. We'll see if I go back, though. I don't know. We'll find out. But like, imagine roasting like somebody like Tabitha for an hour. Like, all the people that would have jokes about her would be incredible.
We'll get the I Hate Tabitha fan club out there.
Exactly. Like, but my point is sometimes like, our appreciation can be seen in so many different ways. And I know it's hard to be on the spot, Texas Bishop, but we definitely appreciate you and are proud of you for that. So
yeah,
Well,
absolutely. And
appreciate you guys.
you can appreciate everybody else's work and help around you, but you need to appreciate yourself. You deserved that. You would not have won it if you didn't. So
yeah,
I'm trying, man.
Accept it.
I know, I'm trying so hard. I'm trying so hard. Yeah.
Affirmations, everyday affirmation. I deserve that. I deserve that.
No thanks. I would probably die.
Okay, well, great episode.
It was a great episode, Dan.
It was a real episode.
We keep it 100 on the show, as you cool
Always.
kids say. Or I think they say $1. I don't know what they say.
Don't try, Dan.
Well, what we
real
say
words
is
are hard enough for you.
We say thanks for listening, and let's continue to help people.
Help animals.
And keep it humane, people.